Sambo here. Just a quick video tonight. I'm just making some beeswax moisturising cream. I've been making this for a while now. I'm selling it a little bit at the markets. Most of what I've sold is to friends and family, work colleagues, things like that. Fairly easy to make. It's just a carrier oil, some shea butter, which is where most of the moisturising properties come from, and beeswax helps with protecting your skin, waterproofing the skin, and it helps also stiffen up the consistency of the cream. I just bought these cheap tins on eBay. I just pour it into there. This is still fairly soft. I've only recently made it. It's been in the fridge for a while. You can adjust the ingredients to however thick or thin you like it. I usually prefer it a little bit harder than that, just so it's a bit more difficult to get out of the tin. It just goes a little bit further that way. Now you can adjust the mix. You can make it harder to be more like a hard lotion bar, or for chapsticks, lip balm. I tend to use lip balm in the small pots, keep some at work, my lips dry out in the air conditioning. So anyway, enough of me yabbering on. I'll get to the how-to stuff, and you can see how easy it is from there. Alright, the recipe for this is fairly simple. It's just olive oil, shea butter, and beeswax. You can use any oil. You can use grapeseed oil, flaxseed oil, coconut oil. Any edible oil is good. It's just a carrier oil, and it helps it keep the other ingredients all soft and easy to rub into the skin. Now with the shea butter, well, you can use shea butter on its own as a moisturiser. It is fairly hard though, but it rubs in really well. I tend to cut that up into smaller pieces, just because smaller pieces, they've got a greater surface area and makes it easier to melt. I melt the oil, heat the oil up first, then I add the beeswax, melt that. Once that's all melted, then I add the shea butter. The reason I add the shea butter last is because if it gets too hot, it can get a grainy feel to the lotion that you're making. So I want to avoid that, even though it'll still work. Now this cream, it's really helpful for eczema, dry, chafed skin, and it's mainly because of the properties of the shea butter. It's rich in vitamins A, E and F, and it just helps elasticize the skin. So if you've got stretch marks or anything like that, you can also use it to get rid of those. Any scarring, it should help with that as well. So anyway, I'm going to move the camera around to the stove and we'll get started on making this. Now when you're working with anything to do with beeswax, you want to really avoid using pots or any tools that you intend to use in the kitchen. The best way I've found, apart from a Pyrex dish, I just stick with stuff that I pick up at the junkyards or at garage sales. Old knife to use as a spatula or a stirrer. And I figured this out through trial and error, especially when you're just working with straight beeswax. Once you get that on something, it's not coming off in a hurry. So I just add my olive oil, let that heat up for a bit and I'll add the wax. And it doesn't really matter what you're making, if you're making chapsticks, lip balms, like the butcher's wax that I've made, leather dressing, wood dressing, hard lotion bars. The basic principle's the same. You're just adding a carrier oil, beeswax, and for the case of the body products, your shea butter. It's the process that's the same, it's just the ingredients that differ. I'm just going to let that sit there and melt for a bit, then I'll come back and add the shea butter. The wax is just about melted. I'll give it another couple of minutes and I should be able to put the shea butter in. Now I've neglected to give you the ingredients list for this. So it's 130 grams or 4.6 ounces of olive oil. I just measure it by weight because it's easier on the digital scales. 70 grams or 2.5 ounces of shea butter, and 30 grams or 1 ounce of beeswax. Now those imperial measurements are approximate. I'll just round it up to the nearest 0.1 of an ounce. If you're out by a little bit, it's not going to matter too much. So I'll just add the shea butter now. And this should only take a couple of minutes now for that to melt. So the oil and the wax and the shea butter, as you can see there, it's melted together fairly well. And now I just pour it into tins and let it set. So I'm just going to let that cool for a few minutes and then I'll put it in the fridge to finish the setting off.